My daughter was planning to kill me with my own diabetes medication, and I only found out because Alexa sent me recordings of her discussing exactly how many units of insulin it would take to put me in an irreversible coma. The email came at 2:47 a.m. with audio files that would destroy everything I believed about the child I raised. You won't believe what happened next. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening in the comments. But that Tuesday morning in December started like every other in my Seattle smart home. At 69, widowed for 2 years, I'd built these routines to fill the silence Margaret's death had left behind. Good morning, David. It's 6:30 a.m. Time for your morning medications. Alexa's voice had become my most consistent companion. The house hummed to life around me, blinds opening gradually, coffee maker gurgling, NPR streaming softly through the speakers. Each morning identical to the last, a carefully orchestrated dance of technology and solitude. I padded to the bathroom where my medications waited in their weekly organizer. Metformin, Jardiance, baby aspirin, vitamin D. Each pill a small guardian against time's march. The mirror reflected what Margaret used to call distinguished aging, silver hair still thick, mind still sharp from building tech venture industries from nothing to a $50 million acquisition. Alexa, log medications taken. Logged. Compliance rate this month, 100%. Dr. Peterson will be pleased. The kitchen welcomed me with Colombian dark roast at exactly 165 degrees. Through floor-to-ceiling windows, Lake Washington sparkled in the morning sun. This house was supposed to be our retirement paradise. Instead, it had become a high-tech mausoleum. My phone buzzed. Jennifer's face filled the screen, her smile not reaching her eyes. Morning, Dad. Taking all your medications. Every single day, sweetheart. She leaned closer to the camera, studying my face with odd intensity. Especially the diabetes ones? You know how worried I get since Mom died. Jennifer had inherited Margaret's delicate features, but none of her warmth. At 41, she'd burned through $3 million in venture capital on a failed biotech startup. When she'd asked me to invest my retirement funds in her second attempt 6 months ago, I'd refused. We hadn't been the same since. The smart home keeps me honest, Jenny. Brad and I still think you need more help. We could. Maria comes 3 times a week. That's plenty. Something flickered across her face like a shadow. Right, Maria. Anyway, Brad's calling for breakfast. Love you, Dad. The call ended abruptly. I stared at the blank screen, unease creeping through me. Margaret always said I was too trusting, especially with Jennifer. Alexa, what's on my calendar today? 10 a.m. board meeting via Zoom. Maria arrives at 2 p.m. evening free. I settled into my study, surrounded by patents and awards. My eyes found Jennifer's photo. Age 12, beaming as I taught her coding. That little girl who wanted to build robots that help people had become someone I barely recognized. A soft blue pulse caught my attention. Alexa's ring was glowing, but I hadn't summoned her. The light flickered in an odd pattern, almost like Morse code. Alexa, did you need something? No active requests. All systems normal. Strange. In 18 months here, I'd never seen that pattern. The device sat on my desk, like a silent guardian, its black cylinder reflecting morning light. For a moment, the light pulsed again. Insistent, urgent. The doorbell announced Maria's arrival for her Tuesday cleaning. But something felt different about the house today. The very walls seemed to hum with tension I couldn't name. The Alexa device pulsed once more, and I could have sworn it was trying to tell me something. Something was trying to warn me. Thursday morning brought rain to Seattle, the kind that turns the world gray and makes you grateful for warm houses and good coffee. I was reviewing quarterly reports from the Morrison Foundation when my phone rang. Jennifer's name flashed on the screen for the second time this week, unusual for someone who typically called once a month. Dad, perfect timing. I was just telling Brad we need to celebrate properly. Celebrate what, sweetheart? Brad's promotion. He made senior partner at the firm. Her voice bubbled with enthusiasm that sounded rehearsed. We want you to come for dinner this Saturday. Just family, nothing fancy. Senior partner? Brad worked at Thompson, Keller and Associates, a mid-tier firm where partnership tracks took decades. He'd only been there 3 years. Something felt off. But Jennifer continued before I could respond. I'm making your favorite, that pot roast recipe Mom used to make. Remember how she'd marinated overnight in red wine? The mention of Margaret's cooking caught me off guard. Jennifer had never shown interest in her mother's recipes before. That's very thoughtful, Jenny. We could eat around 7? Brad wants to share some investment opportunities he thinks would be perfect for your portfolio. Investment opportunities. There it was. The real reason for this sudden invitation. I'll have to check. Please, Dad. Her voice dropped to that little girl tone she'd perfected at age 5. We haven't had a proper family dinner since Mom died. Brad's been working so hard, and this promotion means everything to us. Guilt twisted in my chest. Margaret would have wanted me to try harder with Jennifer. All right, Saturday at 7. Perfect. Oh, and Dad, maybe skip your afternoon medications that day. We're planning quite the meal, and I know how those pills upset your stomach with rich food. My hand tightened on the phone. The medications don't bother my stomach, Jennifer. Right, of course. I must be thinking of someone else. See you Saturday. After she hung up, I sat staring at the rain-streaked windows. Skip my medications? Jennifer had a master's in biochemistry. She knew exactly how dangerous that would be for a type 2 diabetic. I opened my laptop and searched Thompson Keller Associates Senior Partners. The firm website listed all partners. Brad Thompson's name appeared nowhere. A deeper search revealed something worse. A state bar complaint filed against him 6 months ago for mishandling client funds. Status: under investigation. My chest felt hollow. Jennifer was lying about Brad's promotion. But why the elaborate dinner invitation? Why the specific interest in my medications? The front door opened, and Maria's voice called out, Mr. Chen, it's Maria. I found her in the kitchen, unloading her cleaning supplies with unusual nervousness. She kept glancing toward the windows as if expecting someone. Maria, is everything all right? She froze, then forced a smile. Yes, Mr. Chen, everything good. But as she moved to leave the kitchen, she paused beside me. Her hand briefly touched my arm, and she whispered so quietly I almost missed it. Be careful, Mr. Chen. Please, be very careful. Before I could respond, she was already heading upstairs, humming loudly as if to cover her words. My pulse quickened. Maria had worked for me 3 years, never anything but professional. This whispered warning felt like a scream. I returned to my study, mind racing. Brad under investigation. Jennifer lying about promotions. Her strange interest in my medications. Maria's warning. The pieces of something sinister were forming, but I couldn't see the complete picture. Alexa, I said to the device on my desk, show me recent activity logs. Displaying activity from the last 48 hours. The screen filled with routine entries, but one stood out. Audio recording uploaded to cloud, 2:47 a.m. Tuesday. File size, 14 megabytes. I hadn't made any recordings at 2:47 a.m. I'd been asleep. Alexa, what was recorded at 2:47 a.m. on Tuesday? No manual recordings were initiated at that time. The blue ring pulsed again, that same urgent pattern from before. Then, something extraordinary happened. The screen displayed text that shouldn't have been possible. Check your email. My hands trembled as I opened my email client. There, in my inbox, sat a message from my own Alexa account. Timestamp: 2:47 a.m. Tuesday. Subject line: Automated recording backup. 3 audio files were attached. I stared at the screen, knowing instinctively that whatever was in those files would change everything. Outside, the rain intensified, drumming against windows like a warning. Maria's vacuum hummed upstairs, a normal sound in what was becoming a very abnormal day. My cursor hovered over the first audio file. Once I clicked play, there would be no going back. But I had to know what my smart home had captured. I had to know what Jennifer was planning. A notification popped up on my screen. Alexa has detected unusual activity patterns. Review recommended. Something was very wrong in my perfect automated world. And Alexa, my silent digital companion, was trying desperately to warn me about it. Sleep had been elusive since Margaret died, but that Tuesday night was particularly restless. I'd given up on bed at 2:30 a.m., padding downstairs to make chamomile tea, Margaret's remedy for insomnia. The house was tomb quiet, except for the refrigerator's hum and rain pattering against windows. I settled into my study with the tea, laptop open to distract myself with meaningless emails. Delete, save for later. Then I saw it, an email from my own Alexa account sent at 2:47 a.m. My cup froze halfway to my lips. Subject: Automated recording backup. Sender: David Chen Alexa, home@amazon.com. 3 attachments: audio file 1.mp3, audio file 2.mp3, audio file 3.mp3. I hadn't set up any automated recordings. My hands trembled slightly as I clicked on the first file. There was a rustling sound, then voices became clear. Jennifer's voice, but different, cold, calculating, nothing like the daughter who'd called me that morning. Brad, we need to move faster. The patents expire in 3 weeks. Relax, Jen. Your dad trusts you completely. He has no idea we're drowning in debt. $800,000 isn't drowning, it's already drowned. If those casino people don't get their money, they'll get it. Once your father is incapacitated, you'll have power of attorney. The house alone is worth $4 million, plus his investment portfolio. My teacup slipped, spilling across the desk. Incapacitated? I grabbed napkins, hands shaking as Jennifer's voice continued. The diabetes medication is perfect. He's so careful with his doses, tracks everything in that stupid app. But if we can switch his insulin... You're sure about the calculations? Brad, I have a master's in biochemistry. I know exactly how much insulin will send a 69-year-old diabetic into hypoglycemic coma without killing him. He'll be conscious but unable to make decisions. We become his caregivers, take control of everything. The first file ended. I sat in the dark, trembling. My own daughter discussing my planned incapacitation like a business transaction. $800,000 in gambling debt. Brad's casino connections. The patents she mentioned. My AI home automation patents that Google had been trying to buy for $12 million. I clicked the second file with numb fingers. What about Maria? Brad's voice asked. She's there 3 times a week. I've been watching her schedule. She leaves by 4 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We do it on a Thursday evening. By the time she finds him Friday, he'll be in the hospital and will already be listed as medical decision makers. You filed those papers already? Last month, forged his signature. It's all ready, Brad. We just need the right insulin dose at the right time. My chest felt crushed. Last month, Jennifer had visited with papers she said were insurance updates. I'd been cooking dinner, hands covered in flour, told her to handle it. She'd forged my signature on medical power of attorney documents. The third audio file was shorter, but most devastating. Sometimes I look at him and feel guilty, Jennifer said quietly. Don't go soft on me now, Jen. I'm not going soft. It's just, he was a good father. Before Mom died, before he got so stubborn about money. Good fathers don't let their daughters' businesses fail. He has $12 million in assets and wouldn't invest a penny in your company. You're right. He chose his money over his daughter. Now we're choosing our survival over his freedom. The recording ended with their laughter. I ran to the bathroom and vomited, body rejecting the truth my mind couldn't process. The little girl I'd taught to ride a bike, who'd cried in my arms after her first heartbreak, was planning to steal my life using the very biochemistry degree I'd paid for. Back at my desk, I noticed something else. The email had a note at the bottom. Anomaly detection triggered. Recordings autosaved due to keywords. Insulin incapacitated. Power of attorney forged. User safety protocol activated. Alexa had heard everything. My smart home's AI had detected a threat and acted to protect me. The blue ring on the device pulsed softly, no longer seeming urgent now that I'd received its message. I looked at the calendar. Thursday, 2 days from now. Jennifer's dinner invitation for Saturday was a lie. They were coming Thursday evening after Maria left. Coming with switched insulin. Coming to destroy the father who'd loved them. Alexa, I whispered to the device. Thank you. The blue ring pulsed once, warmly, like a friend acknowledging they had your back. Outside, Seattle rain continued its rhythm against my windows. But inside my chest, a storm was building. Jennifer thought she was dealing with a trusting old fool. She had no idea her conspiracy had been recorded, documented, saved. She had no idea that the smart home she'd mocked was about to save my life. The clock showed 3:15 a.m. I had less than 40 hours to decide what to do with this devastating knowledge. Less than 40 hours to save myself from my own daughter. I spent the next 3 hours listening to more recordings Alexa had captured over the past 2 weeks. Each file was worse than the last, painting a picture of cold-blooded planning that would have impressed a professional criminal. File 4, recorded in my living room while I was at my doctor's appointment. The beauty is the insulin swap, Jennifer explained to Brad. Humalog instead of his regular Lantus. It's rapid-acting. He'll inject what he thinks is his long-acting dose, but it'll hit all at once. How fast? Within 30 minutes, he'll be confused, dizzy. Within an hour, unconscious. We call 911, concerned family finding him collapsed. Hospital assumes he mixed up his medications. Old age, confusion. Happens all the time. But won't they test? They'll test his blood sugar, which will be dangerously low. Exactly what we want. By the time they stabilize him, the damage is done. Severe hypoglycemia causes brain damage, Dad. He'll never be competent to manage his affairs again. Brad whistled appreciatively. Your biochemistry degree finally paying off. 7 years of student loans worth $60,000. He could have paid them off without blinking, but no. Said I needed to learn financial responsibility. File 7 from Tuesday afternoon, just hours ago. I checked the patents again, Brad said. Google's offer expires in exactly 3 weeks. $12 million just sitting there because your father is too proud to sell. Not proud, sentimental. He developed those algorithms with Mom when they started the company. Says selling would be like selling her memory. Well, his sentiment is costing us our future. Those casino people aren't patient, Jen. They already broke Marcus's legs last month. I know. Jennifer's voice cracked slightly. Why do you think I'm doing this? You think I want to hurt my father? But it's him or us, and he's had his life. We're only 41. We deserve a chance. File 11 made my blood freeze. What about after? Brad asked. Once he's incapacitated? We move him to Sunrise Manor, The one in Tacoma, not the nice one here. Medicaid will cover it after we liquidate his assets. He'll be safe, cared for, just not in control anymore. You've really thought this through. I've been planning since you got that first casino loan. 6 months of watching him, learning his routines. Did you know he logs every medication dose in his app? 6:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. every single day. He's so predictable, it's almost sad. Thursday evening still good? Perfect. Maria leaves at 4. We arrive at 6 for dinner prep. I switch his evening insulin while you distract him with investment talk. He takes his 6:30 dose like clockwork. By 7, he's on the floor. File 15, recorded just yesterday. I visited the house today, Jennifer reported. Copied his medication schedule, took photos of his insulin pens. The Lantus is purple, Humalog is orange. I'll bring pre-filled orange pens with purple caps. Genius. Also got Maria's schedule from her. Told her we wanted to surprise Dad with dinner Thursday. She promised to leave by 3:30 to give us family time. My hands clenched into fists. They'd manipulated Maria, used her kindness against me. The last file was from this morning, just hours before Jennifer had called me. Final check, Brad's voice. You have the pens? 6 pre-filled Humalog pens with Lantus labels. Enough to switch his entire week's supply. Medical power of attorney papers? In my bag with the estate liquidation documents. Once he's in the hospital, we file everything. And you're sure the dose? 300 units of rapid-acting insulin will cause severe hypoglycemia within minutes. But not death. Death would trigger autopsy, investigation. Brain damage is perfect. He lives, but we control everything. Thursday, 6 p.m. Thursday, 6 p.m. In 41 hours, we're millionaires. The recording ended. I sat in my study as dawn broke over Seattle, gray light filtering through windows. My daughter hadn't just planned to rob me. She'd planned to destroy my mind while keeping my body alive, turning me into a vegetable to fund their gambling debts. The Alexa ring pulsed softly. On screen, a new message appeared. 17 recordings archived. Pattern analysis complete. Threat level critical. Recommend immediate action. My smart home wasn't just recording anymore. It was analyzing, warning, protecting. The AI I'd helped develop, the patents Jennifer wanted to steal, were now my only defense against her. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through contacts. I needed help, but who would believe this? My daughter, the successful biochemist planning to poison me? It sounded like paranoid delusion. Then I saw it, another email from Alexa. This one contained something different. Phone recordings from Brad's cell, captured through our home Wi-Fi network. The subject line read, Evidence of prior criminal activity. My finger hovered over the file. How much worse could this get? I was about to find out that Jennifer and Brad's plan went deeper than I'd imagined, and that I wasn't their first victim. Wednesday morning arrived with deceptive normalcy. I'd slept maybe 2 hours, my mind racing through escape plans and confrontation scenarios. But I needed to know if I had any allies in this nightmare. Maria would arrive at 2 p.m. The woman who'd whispered, "Be careful," might be my only hope. I prepared carefully, disabled the Alexa devices in the kitchen and living room. Couldn't risk Jennifer discovering she'd been recorded. But I kept the one in my study active, hidden behind books, still recording everything. At exactly 2 p.m., Maria's key turned in the lock. I waited in the kitchen, trying to look normal despite the storm in my chest. "Good afternoon, Mr. Chen." Her smile seemed forced, eyes darting nervously. "Maria, could you sit for a moment? I'd like to talk." Fear flashed across her face. "Did I do something wrong?" No, please sit. Would you like some coffee?" She perched on the edge of the kitchen stool like a bird ready to flee. I poured 2 cups with steady hands, though my heart hammered against my ribs. Maria, you've worked for me 3 years. I trust you. Yesterday you warned me to be careful. Why? Her hands wrapped around the coffee mug, knuckles white. I don't know what you mean. Please, I know something's wrong. Jennifer and Brad are planning something for tomorrow, aren't they? Maria's composure crumbled. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she nodded. Mr. Chen, I'm so sorry. I wanted to tell you, but they said they'd call immigration. I'm documented, but my sister isn't. They knew somehow. Tell me everything. 2 weeks ago, I was cleaning the guest bedroom when they arrived. They didn't know I was upstairs. I heard them talking about your medications, about making you sick. My stomach clenched. What exactly did you hear? Mrs. Jennifer said she knew how to make you confused, unable to think. She mentioned insulin, switching medicines. Mr. Brad laughed and said soon they'd be rich. And you didn't tell me? Maria sobbed harder. They saw me leaving that day. Mr. Brad pulled me aside, said he knew about my sister Rosa, said if I mentioned anything to you, she'd be deported within hours. Her children were born here, Mr. Chen. They're Americans. I couldn't. I reached across the counter and touched her hand gently. Maria, you're not in trouble. You were protecting your family. I understand. But there's more. She wiped her eyes, voice dropping to a whisper. I've been switching your medications. What? After I heard their plan, I couldn't let them hurt you. You've been so kind to me, to my family. When my son needed surgery last year, you paid without me asking. So I've been switching. Switching what? Maria pulled a small bag from her purse. Inside were insulin pens, my insulin pens. Every time I clean, I check your medications. If any look tampered with, I replace them with ones I buy from the pharmacy with my own money. I keep the suspicious ones. I stared at the collection of pens. How did you know which ones were tampered with? The caps were wrong color combinations. Mrs. Jennifer is smart but careless. She didn't know I helped my diabetic mother with the same medications. I know Lantus from Humalog. My throat tightened with emotion. This woman, who I paid $25 an hour to clean my house, had been spending her own money to secretly protect me from my daughter. Maria, do you understand what you've done? You've saved my life. You saved my son's life first. Roberto would have died without that surgery. No insurance company would cover it. You didn't hesitate. I remembered. Roberto, 16, needed heart surgery. Maria had mentioned it casually, not asking for help. I'd quietly paid the $47,000 bill directly to the hospital. That was different. No different. Family helps family. You've been more family to me than blood relatives. I stood and walked to my study, returning with an envelope. Maria, inside this is $50,000 cash. Take your sister and disappear for a few days. Go to Canada, anywhere safe. Her eyes widened. Mr. Chen, I can't. You can, and you will. Tomorrow, Jennifer and Brad are coming at 6 p.m. They think they're going to poison me, but thanks to you, I'll be ready. However, when their plan fails, they'll blame someone. That someone might be you. What will you do? I have evidence of their conspiracy, recordings, documentation. I'm going to let them try, then have them arrested. But I need you safe first. Maria stood, clutching the envelope. Mr. Chen, they also mentioned something else. Mr. Brad has done this before. What? His previous wife. She had a stroke at 38. Now she's in a nursing home, unable to speak or move. He inherited everything. The room spun slightly. Brad wasn't just a gambling addict. He was a serial predator, and Jennifer was his willing accomplice. Maria, one more thing. Can you leave me some of those tampered insulin pens, the ones Jennifer prepared? Oh, why would you want evidence? When they come tomorrow, I need proof of what they plan to do. Maria handed me 3 pens from her bag. Be careful, Mr. Chen. These are dangerous. So is my daughter, apparently. As Maria prepared to leave, she turned at the door. Mr. Chen, your wife would be proud of how you're handling this. After she left, I sat alone in my smart home, surrounded by the technology that had revealed my daughter's betrayal. Tomorrow, Jennifer would arrive with her poisoned insulin, expecting to find a trusting father. Instead, she'd find someone ready for war. Thursday arrived with unusual sunshine, Seattle's December sky offering false promise. I spent the morning preparing for the performance of my lifetime. Every detail had to be perfect. One mistake, and Jennifer would know I was onto them. First, I prepared my medications, placed the real insulin in my bedroom safe, arranged the tampered pens Maria had identified in my usual medication drawer, set up my phone to record in my shirt pocket, tested the hidden cameras I'd installed overnight, one in the kitchen, one in the living room, both streaming to the cloud. At 3:30 p.m., I watched from my window as Maria's car disappeared down the street, her family safely headed to Vancouver with my emergency cash. One less innocent person in harm's way. At 4:45 p.m., I took a glucose tablet, bringing my blood sugar slightly higher than normal. If Jennifer managed to inject me with anything, I'd need the buffer. My hand shook as I practiced my evening routine, checking the medication app, preparing the injection site. I had to seem completely unsuspecting. At 5:47 p.m., the doorbell rang. 13 minutes early. They were eager. Dad! Jennifer hugged me at the door, her embrace feeling like a snake's coil. She carried a large tote bag, the medical supplies, no doubt. You look wonderful. Brad followed, carrying grocery bags and wine. His handshake was firm, confident. The handshake of a man who'd done this before. David, ready for a fantastic dinner? The house smells amazing already, Jennifer lied. Nothing was cooking. Let me get started on that pot roast. Brad, why don't you tell Dad about those investment opportunities? They moved with practiced efficiency. Jennifer headed to the kitchen with her tote. Brad guided me to the living room, positioning himself between me and the kitchen entrance. Classic distraction technique. David, have you heard about cryptocurrency mining? Passive income, minimal investment. Perfect for retirement portfolios. I nodded along, watching the clock. 6:15 p.m. In 15 minutes, I'd need to take my evening insulin, the trap they'd been planning for weeks. Sounds interesting, I managed, though my mouth felt dry. But I'm pretty conservative with investments. That's what I told Jen. Brad laughed too loudly. But she insisted you'd want to hear about it. She worries about your future, you know. From the kitchen came sounds of cabinets opening, closing, Jennifer familiarizing herself with where I kept everything, where I kept my medications. Speaking of the future, Brad continued, pulling out his phone, I have some documents here about estate planning. Never too early to... Dad, Jennifer called. Where do you keep your medication? Want to make sure dinner doesn't interfere with your schedule. My stomach clenched. Here it comes. Usual drawer next to the refrigerator. Found it. Her voice carried false cheer. I heard the drawer open, the subtle sound of items being moved, replaced. At 6:25 p.m. she appeared in the doorway. Dad, it's almost time for your evening dose. Want me to bring it to you? I'll get it. I started to stand. No, no. She practically pushed me back down. You relax with Brad, I've got it. She returned with the insulin pen, And I saw Maria had been right. The cap was purple, but something about the label looked altered. This was Humalog, the rapid-acting insulin, disguised as my long-acting Lantus. "Here you go, Dad." She watched intently as I took the pen. My hands performed the familiar ritual. Dial the dose, 35 units. Sterilize the injection site on my abdomen. Position the pen. But at the last second, I used the sleight of hand I'd practiced all morning, injecting into the couch cushion beside me instead of my skin, my body blocking their view. "All done," I said, capping the pen. "Thank you, sweetheart." Jennifer's eyes glittered with anticipation. Brad checked his watch. They were counting down to my collapse. 20 minutes passed. I started to sweat naturally from anxiety, which they misinterpreted. "Dad, are you feeling okay?" Jennifer leaned forward with fake concern. "A bit warm," I admitted truthfully. "Maybe you should lie down." Brad stood quickly. "Here, let me help you to the couch." I let myself appear slightly unsteady, not hard given my nervousness. Jennifer produced a blood glucose meter from her bag. "Let's check your levels, Dad." Just to be safe. The reading showed 142, perfectly normal thanks to the glucose tablet. Jennifer frowned at the meter, shaking it as if it were broken. "That can't be right," she muttered. "What's wrong?" I asked innocently. Nothing. Just, this meter seems off." She exchanged a panicked glance with Brad. Their plan was failing. The insulin should have crashed my blood sugar by now. Brad's phone rang. He looked at the screen and paled. It's the police." Jennifer grabbed his arm. "Don't answer it." But the doorbell rang simultaneously. Through the window, I could see 2 police cruisers in my driveway, lights flashing. "What did you do?" Jennifer turned to me, her mask finally slipping completely. "I survived," I said simply. "Despite your best efforts to murder me." The pounding on the door grew louder. "Seattle police! Open up!" Jennifer looked at the insulin pen on the coffee table, at her bag full of tampered medications, at the estate documents Brad had pulled out. The evidence surrounded them like a noose. "You knew," she whispered. "You knew the whole time." "Alexa told me everything," I said, standing steadily now. "Every single recording." The color drained from both their faces as they realized their perfect plan had been doomed from the start. 2 hours before Jennifer and Brad arrived, I'd made the most important phone call of my life. Tom Harrison, my college roommate from MIT, now worked in the FBI's white-collar crime division. We hadn't spoken in 2 years, but some friendships transcend time. "Tom, it's David Chen. I need help." "David, good to hear from you. What's wrong?" "My daughter and son-in-law are planning to poison me tonight for my money. I have recordings, evidence, everything. But Tom, Brad may have done this before." Silence. Then, "How soon are they coming?" 6 o'clock. "David, listen carefully. This is attempted murder, conspiracy, fraud, multiple federal crimes. Can you send me the recordings?" I uploaded all 17 files to a secure server Tom provided. For 20 minutes I heard only his breathing and occasional cursing as he listened. "Jesus Christ, David! This is elaborate. The medical knowledge, the forged documents. You said Brad might have done this before." "His first wife had a stroke at 38. Now she's in a permanent vegetative state. He inherited $3 million. "What was her name?" "Sandra Phillips. The stroke was in 2019 in Portland." Tom typed rapidly. "David, I'm looking at her medical records now. Sandra Phillips, healthy 38-year-old marathon runner, sudden catastrophic hypoglycemic event leading to severe brain damage. No history of diabetes. Insulin injection in a non-diabetic would cause that." "Exactly. Brad was the one who found her. Called 911. By the time paramedics arrived, she was already brain dead. No autopsy because she survived, just like they planned for you. My blood chilled. He's a serial killer. A smart one. But he just made a fatal mistake. He tried it on someone with FBI connections and a house full of recording devices. David, we've been building a case against Brad for 6 months. What? Casino debts led him to some dangerous people. Those people are under federal investigation for racketeering. Brad's name kept coming up. We knew he was desperate for money, but we didn't know he was killing for it. So you'll help? Help? David, you just gave us the evidence to close 3 cases. Here's what's going to happen. Act normal when they arrive. Let them switch your medications. Take the injection, but don't actually inject yourself. Already planned on that. Smart. We'll have agents surrounding your house. The moment they make their move, we'll take them down. But David, we need them to actually attempt the crime. Can you do this? I can. One more thing. We're getting a warrant for Brad's electronics right now. If he really killed Sandra, there might be evidence. Text messages, searches, something. After Tom's call, I'd made one more preparation. I'd called my lawyer, Patricia Wong, and had her on standby with documentation showing my mental competence, verified just that morning by 2 independent psychiatrists. If Jennifer tried to claim I was confused or senile, I had medical proof otherwise. At 4 p.m., Tom called back. David, we found something. Brad's laptop has searches from 2019. Insulin overdose non-diabetic. Hypoglycemic coma-induced. Power of attorney unconscious spouse. He researched Sandra's murder for 3 months. Dear God. There's more. We found communication with Jennifer dating back 8 months. This isn't a new plan, David. They've been planning this since Brad's gambling debts reached critical mass. 8 months? My voice cracked. Every dinner, every phone call for 8 months had been a lie. Your daughter also searched elderly parent capacity evaluation, insulin types rapid versus long-acting, and Washington state inheritance law. She's been studying how to destroy you. I sat in my study, surrounded by photos of Jennifer's childhood. Science fair trophies I'd helped her win. Graduation photos from the university I'd paid for. When had my little girl become a monster? The agents are in position, Tom continued. 4 units around your house. We have a medical team standing by in case something goes wrong. Your smart home recordings are being monitored in real time. Tom, I need to ask, what happens to them after? With the evidence you've provided? Brad faces life in prison. Murder, attempted murder, fraud, conspiracy. Jennifer, depends on her cooperation, but minimum 15 to 20 years. 15 to 20 years. My daughter would be in her 60s when she got out. The baby I'd rocked to sleep, taught to ride a bike, walk down the aisle. She'd spent her best years in federal prison. David, you still there? Yeah, just processing. I know this is hard, but remember, she chose this. She chose to hurt you for money. You're not destroying her life. You're saving yours and potentially others. As I'd prepared for their arrival, I'd hidden one more camera, this one in my shirt button, FBI standard issue that Tom had rushed over. Everything would be captured from my perspective. Now, sitting in my living room with police at my door and Jennifer realizing her plan had failed, I thought about Tom's words. She chose this. FBI, open the door now. Brad stood frozen. Jennifer looked between the door and me, calculating if she could still salvage something. It's over, Jennifer, I said quietly. They know about Sandra Phillips. They know about everything. Brad's face went white as death. Sandra, how could they? And that's when Jennifer understood the full scope of her mistake. She hadn't just tried to kill her father. She'd partnered with a serial killer, and the FBI had been watching all along. Before the police arrived, before their plan crumbled, Jennifer and Brad had tried one final desperate move. As I sat there pretending to feel dizzy from the fake insulin injection, they'd begun their endgame. "Dad's not responding well," Jennifer had said to Brad, loud enough for any future 911 call recording. "His blood sugar must be dropping fast." Brad pulled out his phone, finger hovering over 911. "Should I call now?" "Wait." Jennifer knelt beside me, checking my pulse with practiced efficiency. "Dad, can you hear me? We need you to sign something. For your own safety." She produced documents from her bag, the ones I'd seen her forge my signature on weeks ago. Power of attorney, medical directives, asset transfer authorizations. A complete legal takeover of my life. "Dad, please," she coaxed, putting a pen in my hand. "Just sign here. We'll take care of everything." I let my hand shake, deliberately scrawling illegible marks nowhere near the signature lines. "Can't see straight." "Guide his hand," Brad urged. "Like we practiced." Practiced. They'd actually rehearsed forging my signature while I was dying. Jennifer gripped my hand, trying to force it toward the signature line. That's when I'd had enough. I grabbed her wrist firmly, no longer playing weak. "Did you practice on Sandra Phillips, too?" I asked clearly. Brad dropped his phone. Jennifer tried to pull away, but I held firm. "Or was she your first, Brad? Tell me, when you held Sandra's hand as she convulsed from insulin shock, did you feel anything? Or was it just about the money?" "You don't know what you're talking about," Brad stammered. "You're confused from low blood sugar." "My blood sugar is 142. Perfectly normal. Because I didn't inject your tampered insulin, Jennifer. I injected it into the couch cushion." I released Jennifer's wrist and stood steadily, pulling the button camera from my shirt. "Smile for the FBI. They've been watching everything." That's when Jennifer had made her last catastrophic mistake. She lunged for her bag, pulling out a pre-filled syringe. "Fine, if you won't go quietly." She tried to stab me with it, but I'd been expecting desperation. I sidestepped, and she stumbled forward. The syringe fell, rolling across the hardwood floor. "That's attempted murder on federal surveillance," I said calmly. "Thank you for removing any doubt about your intentions." Brad had tried to run then, heading for the back door. He made it 3 steps before freezing. Through the kitchen window, FBI agents were clearly visible, weapons drawn. "Jennifer," I said to my daughter as she stood there, syringe at her feet, dreams of millions evaporating. "I need to know something. When did you stop loving me? Was it when I refused to fund your second startup? Or was it earlier?" Her mask finally shattered completely. "Love you? I haven't loved you since Mom died. You know what she told me before the cancer took her? She said you were too soft, too trusting, that I'd have to be strong, because you'd give everything away to charity or strangers. Margaret never said that. No? Check her journal. The one you never read because it's too painful. She knew you'd waste our inheritance on your bleeding heart causes. Maria's son, the scholarship funds, the free upgrades for customers who couldn't afford repairs. Mom wanted that money for family. For me." I thought about Margaret's journal, sitting untouched in our bedroom. Had she really felt that way? Or was this another manipulation? "Even if that's true," I said, "she never would have wanted this. Attempted murder, forgery, destroying my mind while keeping my body alive. She would have wanted me to survive," Jennifer screamed. "Do you know what Brad's casino creditors threatened? They have my photo, my address. They said they'd sell me to traffickers if we didn't pay. 3 weeks. They gave us 3 weeks. So you chose to sacrifice me instead. You're 69. You've had your life. I'm only 41 inches. Brad interjected desperately. The humalog would have been painless. You'd have just gone to sleep. We researched the most humane way. Like you researched Sandra's murder? That's when the FBI had breached. The door exploded inward, agents flooding my home with practiced precision. Nobody move! Hands where we can see them. Jennifer dropped to her knees, sobbing. Brad raised his hands, his attorney mind already calculating plea deals. Agent Tom Harrison entered last, his expression grim but satisfied. He looked at the syringe on the floor, the scattered documents, the tampered insulin pens on the coffee table. David, you okay? Better than Sandra Phillips. Tom nodded to his team. Bag everything. Every pill, every document, every pen. He turned to Jennifer and Brad. You're under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, forgery, and about 12 other federal crimes. As they cuffed Jennifer, she looked at me one last time. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed your only family. No, Jennifer, you destroyed it the moment you decided my life was worth less than your debts. They led her out in handcuffs, neighbors gathering on lawns to witness the spectacular fall of the Chen family. Brad followed, head down, probably calculating how many murders he'd be charged with. My smart home felt different with them gone. Quieter, but not lonely. Cleaner, like poison had been extracted from the air. David, Tom said gently, we'll need you to come to the station tomorrow for formal statements. I know. For what it's worth, you saved lives today. If Brad had succeeded with you, he wouldn't have stopped. Serial killers escalate. Serial killer. My son-in-law. My daughter's partner in attempted murder. The FBI raid on my home was swift and devastating. Within minutes, my quiet Thursday evening had transformed into a crime scene, with evidence markers and federal agents cataloging years of careful conspiracy. Clear the living room, Agent Harrison commanded as his team worked with surgical precision. Martinez, bag those syringes. Collins, secure all documents. I want every pill, every pen, every piece of paper. Jennifer sat handcuffed on my couch, the same couch where I'd pretended to inject myself. Her perfect makeup was streaked with tears. Her carefully styled hair disheveled from the arrest. She looked nothing like the composed biochemist who'd walked in 90 minutes ago. Dad, please, she begged, as an agent photographed the tampered insulin pens. Tell them this is a misunderstanding. Tell them you're confused. The only confusion, Agent Harrison interrupted, is how you thought you'd get away with this. He held up an evidence bag containing the pre-filled syringe she tried to stab me with. Attempting murder on FBI surveillance. That's bold, even for someone who's been planning this for 8 months. Brad hadn't said a word since his arrest. He sat in a separate chair, calculating behind his eyes. Finally, he spoke. I want a lawyer. You'll need one, Harrison replied. We've connected you to Sandra Phillips' attempted murder. Portland PD is reopening her case. Amazing what modern forensics can find when they know what to look for. Brad's composure cracked. That was ruled natural causes. A healthy marathon runner doesn't naturally fall into hypoglycemic coma. But you knew that when you injected her with 400 units of insulin. The number made even Jennifer gasp. She turned to Brad with dawning horror. 400 units? You said you gave Sandra 200... Shut up, Brad snapped. Harrison smiled grimly. Thank you both. That's called admission of conspiracy. Jennifer, you just confirmed knowledge of Sandra's attempted murder. I watched my daughter realize she'd been manipulated by a serial predator. The man she'd trusted to help kill me had been using her, just as he'd used Sandra. Mr. Chen, Agent Martinez approached with a tablet. We need you to identify some evidence. The screen showed text messages between Jennifer and Brad dating back months. Brad, your father's worth more in a coma than dead. Dead triggers investigation. Jennifer. The biochemistry is solid. Rapid-acting insulin, no trace after metabolization. Brad. Worked before. Will work again. Jennifer. This time we control the narrative completely. Each message was another nail in their legal coffin. But one thread made my blood freeze. Jennifer. What about Maria? She's always around. Brad. Accidents happen. Undocumented workers disappear all the time. They'd planned to kill Maria, too. The woman who'd saved my life had been on their elimination list. We found more, Harrison said quietly. Brad's been in contact with someone called the Doctor, a dark web specialist in untraceable toxins. Your insulin swap was Plan A. Plan B involved something called succinylcholine. That's a paralytic, Jennifer whispered, her medical knowledge betraying her again. It would cause complete respiratory failure in minutes. Were you going to watch me suffocate? I asked her directly. She couldn't meet my eyes. Tom pulled me aside as the evidence team worked. David, we've uncovered something else. Brad's finances show 5 large deposits over 3 years, each after an elderly person in Portland or Seattle died or became incapacitated. We think Sandra wasn't his first. How many? At least 5 victims, maybe more. All had their assets transferred to family members who then paid Brad legal consultation fees. He's been running an elder abuse murder ring. I thought I might vomit. And Jennifer? Appears to be his first partner. He probably chose her because of her biochemistry background and access to you. Across the room, FBI agents were documenting everything with cameras. My insulin supplies, Jennifer's forged documents, Brad's phone with incriminating searches. The local news had already arrived outside, their vans lining my quiet street. Mr. Chen, a reporter shouted as I stepped onto my porch for air, is it true your daughter tried to murder you? I said nothing, but my silence spoke volumes. Inside, Jennifer was breaking down completely. It was Brad's idea, all of it. He showed me articles about elder abuse, said it was merciful, said you'd want to help if you knew about our debts. Stop talking, Brad commanded. No, you ruined my life. You said it would be simple, painless. You never mentioned Sandra until after we started. You never said you'd done this before. Harrison looked at me. This is hard to watch, but her confession is crucial. She's admitting Brad was the mastermind while confirming her willing participation. As they prepared to transport them to federal detention, Jennifer made one last plea. Dad, what about Mom's wishes? She wanted family taken care of. I walked over to her, close enough that only she could hear. Your mother's last words were, take care of our little girl. I tried, Jennifer, but you stopped being our little girl when you planned my murder. The agents led them out in full view of cameras and neighbors. Mrs. Patterson from next door covered her mouth in shock. The Thompson family across the street recorded everything on their phones. David, Tom said as the police cars pulled away. Brad will likely get life without parole. Multiple attempted murders, successful fraud, conspiracy. Jennifer, with cooperation, maybe 15 to 20 years. Will she cooperate? Against Brad? Absolutely. She just realized she was his next victim once you were gone. No witnesses to their conspiracy. The house fell silent. Crime scene tape decorated my perfect smart home. Evidence markers dotted surfaces where my family had tried to kill me. Alexa, I said to the device that had saved my life, play Margaret's favorite song. But even Alexa remained silent, processed as evidence in the case that would destroy what remained of the Chen family. 3 months later, I sat in the federal courthouse as the judge read the verdicts. Brad Thompson, guilty on all counts. Life without parole for the murders and attempted murders of 6 elderly victims, including Sandra Phillips, Jennifer Chen. Guilty of attempted murder, conspiracy, and fraud. Sentenced to 18 years with possibility of parole in 12. Jennifer had cooperated fully, revealing Brad's entire operation. 5 other families finally got answers about their loved ones' sudden strokes and accidents. She looked at me once during sentencing, mouthing, "I'm sorry." I nodded, but couldn't forgive. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Maria sat beside me throughout the trial, her presence a comfort. She'd returned from Vancouver the day after the arrest, refusing to accept the $50,000 I'd given her for protection. "Use it for Roberto's college," I'd insisted. "Only if you let me keep working for you," she'd countered. "Someone needs to make sure you eat properly." She'd become more than an employee. She was family, the kind you choose, not the kind that tries to kill you. After the verdict, I stood outside the courthouse facing reporters. My daughter made choices that destroyed our family. But she also revealed a serial killer who'd been hunting elderly people for years. That's her only redemption. One reporter asked, "What about your smart home?" "The Alexa that saved you." Still there, still protecting me. Technology isn't good or evil. It's about how we use it. My home's eye recognized a threat pattern and acted. It did what family should do: protect the vulnerable. 2 weeks later, I sold the Seattle house. Too many memories, both beautiful and horrible. I bought a smaller place in Bellingham, near the water. Still smart-enabled, but simpler. Maria helped me move, bringing her family to assist. Roberto, now 17 and healthy, carried boxes while practicing his college essay about resilience. "Mr. Chen," he said during a break, "Mom told me what you did for my surgery, and what Jennifer tried to do to you. How do you trust anyone after that?" I thought carefully. You trust, but verify. You love, but stay alert. You forgive, but don't forget. Most importantly, you recognize that actions show truth better than words. My new home had a guest house where Maria and her family stayed when visiting. Her sister Rosa, now documented thanks to a good immigration lawyer, helped plant a garden. Fresh vegetables, she insisted. Better than medication. I established the Margaret Chen Foundation with the patent money Google finally paid, $12 million Jennifer had tried to steal. It funds medical care for families who can't afford treatment. Maria serves on the board, along with Tom Harrison and my lawyer Patricia Wong. Once a month, I receive a letter from federal prison. Jennifer writes about taking chemistry classes, teaching literacy to other inmates, finding purpose in helping rather than taking. I read them but don't respond. Forgiveness might come someday, but trust never will. Brad never writes. He's in solitary after other inmates discovered he'd targeted elderly victims. Even in prison, some crimes are considered unforgivable. The Alexa device sits in my new living room, its blue ring pulsing gently when activated. I've shared my story with Amazon's AI ethics team, helping them develop better threat detection algorithms. If my tragedy saves one elderly person from family exploitation, Margaret would consider it worthwhile. 6 months after the trial, I got an unexpected call. "Mr. Chen, this is Sandra Phillips." My breath caught. Brad's first victim, supposedly brain dead. Sandra? But the report said, "I've been recovering slowly, very slowly. When the FBI told me Brad was convicted, something unlocked. I'm learning to speak again, to move. The doctors call it miraculous." We met for coffee in Portland. Sandra in a wheelchair, but alert, alive, fighting. She gripped my hand with surprising strength. "You saved me," she said. "If Brad hadn't been caught, I'd have died in that nursing home." They were planning to discontinue life support next month. Alexa saved us both, I corrected. Now, a year later, I wake each morning in my Bellingham home. Maria arrives twice a week, bringing homemade food and stories about Roberto's first year at University of Washington, studying biomedical engineering on a full scholarship from the Margaret Chen Foundation. "Morning, Alexa," I say, starting my day. "What's my schedule?" "Good morning, David. You have a foundation board meeting at 10 a.m., lunch with Sandra Phillips at noon, and dinner with Maria's family at 6 p.m. A full life, a good life. A life Jennifer tried to steal, but inadvertently made richer by revealing who truly deserved my trust. I think about Margaret often. She worried I was too trusting, too generous. She was right about the trusting part. But the generosity, that saved me. It earned Maria's loyalty, Tom's immediate response, Sandra's friendship. My daughter thought wealth meant money. She never understood. It meant relationships with people who'd protect you without expecting payment. Maria switching my medications. Tom mobilizing the FBI. Sandra fighting to recover so she could testify. That's real family. Not blood, but choice. Not obligation, but genuine care. "Alexa," I say, looking at Margaret's photo on my new mantle, "play some music, something hopeful." As melody fills my home, I open my laptop to review scholarship applications. 17 families need help with medical bills this month. The foundation can cover them all. Jennifer wanted my money to save herself from bad choices. Instead, it's saving strangers from impossible situations. Margaret would approve. She always said wealth meant nothing if it didn't help others. My phone buzzes. Maria texting pictures from Roberto's biology presentation. He's studying insulin therapy, inspired by what happened. "Going to make medications that can't be weaponized," his message reads. I smile, remembering the executive who built an empire, lost a daughter, but gained a purpose. Sometimes the family that matters most isn't the one you're born with or marry into. It's the one that chooses to stand with you when standing alone would be easier. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left.